freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round one recap for this week's Open Championship. Joining me to break it all down, Greg DuCharme is here. Hello, Greg.
Rick, great to be here. And I will say, if you are a fan of the Open Championship and you woke up this morning in the early morning hours here in America, turned on the TV and started you got a classic Open Championship day. And you must have been thrilled because it was really fun to watch. This was what the Open's all about.
On again, off again, rain, wind, tee times all throughout 10 hours or so, action coming down to the very last stroke because we've got somebody still out on the golf course right now, one of the last tee times of the day, who is probably going to wrap up his day definitely after 9:30 p.m. local time at Royal Troon, who has a chance to take the outright lead. We'll save that, but that's a full day of golf, Greg.
It is a full day. I mean, it's a full day here. Even if you woke up at your normal time in America and started watching golf, it's a full day. You know, it's 4:30 on the East Coast right now, so a lot of golf today. A lot of golf shots to get you caught up on.
Kyle Porter wrapping up his writing duties and will be in as soon as those are taken care of. Let's get through as much of the notable stuff as we can. Obviously, like we said, very long day here. The morning wave, and we will start with the good from the morning wave. And let's start with Alex Noren. Greg, this is a guy who's been playing great golf, sans just a couple of ugly starts here in recent weeks. But other than that, it's a great 2024 for him. He went out in 34. That is 2 under, and he played the second 9 at even par, 1 bogey, 1 birdie. He cards a 69, and he's currently in a tie for 4th.
Yeah, some really good play from Alex Noren. Like you said, second group out, which was not the favorable wave, which I think there was some hints that might happen. But I think it was more, it came into play more today than I expected. I do expect that wave, the afternoon wave today, to have a bigger advantage tomorrow, which is kind of surprising. But Alex Noren on the wrong side of the draw goes out and plays beautiful golf. He kind of played Alex Noren golf. He wasn't extremely accurate off the tee. He only hit 9 greens in regulation, but he took advantage of what he had to on the greens. 13th in the field in strokes gained putting. His short game was very sharp, and he left himself in easy spots. So while he missed some fairways and missed some greens, it wasn't overly errant. He wasn't in pop bunkers. He wasn't chipping out. And this was a really solid major championship round of golf to keep him right smack in the middle of contention.
Yeah, this is already his 12th Open Championship. His best finish in any of those, the T11, that came in 2019. So Alex Noren looking to his best this week at Royal Troon. I could go a lot of different ways here. Let's just go with Justin Thomas because he was in the mix and leading after the opening round last week at the Scottish Open. Things went very south from there, but JT gets right back on the horse and starts making birdies early in this morning. Birdies on 2, 4, 7, and 8. He turns in 3 under. He does give a few back on 12 and 13, but Greg, he rights the ship, makes birdies on both 17 and 18. He is going to feel very good, or did feel very good, when he sat down to eat his lunch.
This is a really interesting round of golf. I do think the finish definitely made lunch taste better, as they say. But this round of golf is emblematic of the total Justin Thomas experience. Right? The good is really good. He's hitting some phenomenal iron shots. He's chipping in. He's making some long putts, which is a nice change of pace. But then all of a sudden, 12 and 13, you get some errant drives. Even after that, you get some really errant drives that I thought really put him out of contention for the whole tournament. He was still under par, but I'm thinking he's done because he's lost the driver. It's the biggest thing that I worry about with Justin Thomas in links golf is the penalties that he incurs from errant tee shots. But he rallies back, hits a great shot into 17, nice putt on 18 to seal off a more than respectable round of 68. And again, like Patrick was saying on Tuesday, Justin Thomas again getting the wrong side of the draw.
Yes, indeed, because especially with what so the afternoon kind of calmed down a little bit, and then what is forecasted for Friday, it does appear that the PM AM wave is going to be the better side of it. Greg, this is almost identical to kind of what we saw last week in the opening round from Justin Thomas. He was gained 2+ strokes on approach. He gained 3+ with the putter. It has not really been 9-hole stretches or 18-hole stretches. It's been 72-hole stretches that have been the problem for Justin.
Yes, and look, there are some things in his game that need a little bit of work. Driving accuracy being one of them, and that's the reason why you don't necessarily feel very comfortable about his chances going forward. He starts getting in, especially in the winds that we're expected to get tomorrow. He gets a little bit off with the driver, and there could be some big 4 right and 4 left points from Justin Thomas. And that would be the concern. At this point, at 3 under par, although the putter is a concern as well, it's not as big of a concern to me. I think if he can keep the ball in play and treat this like a round of golf in Florida, where he lives and plays a ton of golf, where you just have to keep the ball in front of you, then I think you could see Justin Thomas in the mix through the weekend.
That's a big if, and we will see if he can do that. I mentioned Alex Noren's best Open Championship result was a T11 in 2019. How about this? Justin Thomas's best Open Championship result, a T11 in 2019. A little bit of symmetry for our first 2 golfers out of the gate here. Let's go to a savvy vet, a guy who has played a ton of Open Championships. This will be number 21. He has 3 top 10 finishes. His best finish is a runner-up. I'm speaking, of course, of Justin Rose, who got out early and put together a bogey-free 69. Not a lot of bogey-free rounds out there on the day, but Rosie had one for himself.
This guy he's so impressive to me. He just loves difficult golf courses, right? He loves grinding it out. And, you see his name in a tournament like this. It's like, well, he could finish in the top 10. He could also miss the cut very easily. And after this opening round, you feel a lot better about the top 10 side of things. But Justin Rose was able to hit a ton of greens in regulation today. He hit 14, which is first in the field. Very impressive performance with his irons. He kept the ball in front of him. He missed some fairways. There were a couple of big misses, but when he did miss, he was able to scramble very nicely. And of course, he hits it close at 3 and 7. He doesn't really get anything going on the greens. And otherwise, if he had, this could have been a really special round. But anytime you're bogey free in a major championship in conditions like this, you're thrilled.
Yes, and he will get the long break and, of course, go out into kind of the teeth of it if that weather forecast does hold up. We have joked early and often on this podcast about Russell Henley being a top 10 player in the world, but he has looked like it through 18 holes at Royal Troon. He did it in very Russell Henley fashion, 4.5 strokes and not final numbers yet, but in the ball striking categories. His round on Thursday consisted of just one blemish, a bogey on number 5, offset by 3 birdies to post that 69. And Greg, I was kind of looking through some of the major championship results in his career and recently for Russell Henley, and they're low-key pretty good. He's got like a bunch of top 15 finishes. He's made the cut and has top 40s in all 3 majors this year, highlighted by the T7 that he had at the US Open. So Russell Henley does not shy away from these spotlights.
No, he doesn't. And look, the reason why, it's something we talked about earlier in the week in our preview shows too. You have to keep the ball in play here. And because there's a bigger penalty for missing fairways than there typically is. And Russell Henley hits fairways, right? He was 4th today in driving accuracy, which is a huge asset. And somewhat of a theme on the top of this leaderboard. So, like you said, that's the recipe for Russell Henley. So he hits a ton of greens in regulation. He's second behind only Justin Rose in greens in regulation, fourth in fairways. And that's how you get a round of golf with 3 birdies and just the 1 bogey, which, by the way, that bogey at 9 was a 3-putt from 63 feet. So all in all, a stellar performance from Russell Henley, and one that looks like it could last.
Yeah, for sure. It's fairways and greens around this place will be just fine, and that's the combo for Russell Henley. That's the good from the morning wave, Greg. But we must do the bad as well. We'll start with Bryson DeChambeau, who was in the midst of a historically good major championship season. It does not seem like it will go down in the record books after this Thursday round at the Open Championship, because it was struggling right out of the gate for Bryson. A bogey on 1, a bogey on 3, bogey on 4, bogey on 6, bogey on 8. Turns in a 6 over 42. He would add another bogey on 15 before he put any red figures at all on the scorecard. Now, it was a big bird, an eagle on the par 5 16th. So not a single birdie on the card for Bryson DeChambeau. You add it up, it is a 5 over 76 in which he struggled in 2 areas. He struggled on his approach play, lost nearly 2 shots there, and he struggled with the putter. Specifically, Greg, it seemed like he had no feel over the speeds of these greens.
Yes, and really struggled in the short putts as well. I mean, those bogeys early on really did come from short misses, which in some cases it comes from the lack of touch on longer ones as well. But you need to be able to make the putts inside of 8 feet. And I think Bryson missed 4 or 5 of those in the early going so far in the first round. Now, I wasn't very high on Bryson heading into this tournament, but the reason is kind of different than what we saw. I thought it'd be from errancy off the tee. There were a couple of errant tee shots. The only one that really cost him was the double he made at 6, where he hits it into the fescue or native area and messes around in there for a little bit before having to play up another hole. So that was kind of a complicated situation, but really what got him was it wasn't able to hit anything close, and definitely struggled with the pace on those greens.
Yeah, you had mentioned, and I thought this was very astute of you. Bryson has really struggled at this style of golf. The one exception was St. Andrews, right? Which is where, that's kind of an extreme Open Championship course on the other end of the Rota spectrum, where you can lean into Bryson's strength and distance becomes such a valuable asset. Is this just a matter of non-St. Andrews Opens are going to probably be pretty tough for Bryson?
It seems like it, but I do think that Bryson has the ability to figure things out. It wouldn't surprise me if there was a year down the road where Bryson figured out the Open the way that Phil Mickelson did, right? This is a lot of the Phil Mickelson model doesn't work in the Open because you can't keep the ball down kind of stuff that we used to talk about with Phil. There's a lot of similarities there. So can Bryson figure out a strategy and develop those shots? Absolutely. But it doesn't look like he has just yet. So it's definitely not a favorable style of golf for him. Doesn't mean it always will be that way. But you hear him afterwards talk about it. Oh, I can play links golf if it's warm and sunny and not windy, right? He kind of joked about that, which I got a chuckle out of. Cold and rain is hard, right? And this it's kind of an artist style of golf, and similar to Augusta National in a very similar in an opposite way, if you will. Similar in very different ways, but you have to be creative. And that's at times been something difficult for Bryson to do.
Rory McIlroy fared even worse than Bryson did. A 7 over 78 for Rory, and he held it together at least a little bit longer than Bryson did, but then the wheels fell off. A bogey on 1 and a birdie on 3 to get it back to even par, and it's the postage stamp that got a lot of guys on Thursday in the opening round, and it got Rory as well. Hits his first shot into that right greenside bunker, is not able to extract himself. The ball pops out and then rolls back down in. He would then finally get it out the second time, but missed the putt. He ends up carding a double bogey there, Greg, and that kind of sends him spiraling a little bit because he would make a bogey on 10. He would make another double on 11, and then there were no more birdies on the card for Rory for the rest of this round. So it really just kind of, it got away from him, and he comes in 40. It wasn't good.
No, it was not good. And I do think in a lot of ways, Rory played better than Bryson, even though the score doesn't reflect that. Rory just made bigger mistakes, 8 being one of them, right? And the mistake isn't necessarily missing in that right bunker. Guys got up and down from that bunker. The mistake is leaving it in there. And all of a sudden that double kind of gets reeling in your head a little bit. Now you're fighting from behind, going into a back nine, even with the winds today being, I guess you could argue, more favorable on the back nine. They're still just very challenging holes. And then you make another mistake. You hit it out of bounds at 11. That's a terrible, that's a sin, right? It costs you a double bogey. It's brutal. And all of a sudden this championship is done for Rory McIlroy. Maybe he fights back to make the cut, but he's not getting back into contention after this opening round.
I'm getting word that we have Kyle Porter. We will bring him in right now. So let's see if we've got, hey, KP, buddy boy. Good to see you.
How we doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm great. I woke up at 3:20, no alarm, just ready to rock and roll.
Your body said it's time.
Yeah. And I don't even feel, usually I feel like super tired by this time. I feel good. I might go play 18 after this.
Wow.
Let's go.
You are feeling it. Rory was not. Let's perfect timing here for Rory. And Greg did a great job there, but it's the holes that can get you. The double on 5, or excuse me, the double on 8, the double on 11. It's like, yep. And then you're going to sprinkle in a couple other bogeys. He didn't make enough he got trooned.
He did. And I thought what Greg said, that he maybe played better than Bryson. I a little bit disagree in the sense that I thought Rory's game was really loose and he kind of got on 8 and 11, right? It, like those two holes to me were emblematic of just a game that was just not good from tee to green. Like as good as he hit it at Pinehurst, and I walked with him, off and on there, and it was like, dude, I don't know if I like there and LACC. It's just like, I don't know how much better you can hit it than that. And today was kind of the opposite. And yeah, you could have gotten out of there with like a 75, I guess, but it was sort of like emblematic of how he played throughout the day, I thought.
Yeah, he didn't have it and he wasn't able to save it, which is sometimes what you see when a guy has, their B- or their C+ or their C- stuff. They can save it. Rory could not. He is going to be 13 shots off the lead going into second round.
Which, by the way, what a sociopathic game when Dan Brown can be 13 up on Rory. Dan Brown, Rory's won more in the last 7 starts than Dan Brown has won in his professional career.
But Dan Brown has written more books than Rory has.
That's true. That's a good point.
That's the same guy or no? Different guy? Hard to say. Who knows, actually?
What a crazy sport.
I know nothing about either of those guys. Okay, let's reset here and transition to the PM wave because they got the better end of it. We had Tiger over there. We got Jordan Spieth. We got the guys who are leading the golf tournament. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
And we're back. The afternoon wave let's start with Brooks Koepka, who bogeys both 2 and 3, struggles immediately out of the gate, and then did something that we had not seen, at least to that point, and I don't think anybody else did it for the rest of the day. Brooks Koepka birdied 4 holes in a row. 4 through 7. He turned in 1 under. That's where he finished, KP, for the day. So it was a little bit of a rough start, but Brooks Koepka rights the ship and gets himself under par. He's currently in a tie for 11th.
Yeah. Do you have, I'm trying to look this up. Do you have the list of who made the most birdies? Here it is. JT had 7. Dan Brown had 6. Author Dan Brown. Brooks had 5. So he was tied with Shane Lowry for the 3rd most birdies on the day. He's very much in it. I thought he had a really interesting quote afterward, Rick. He was talking about how he's like, even if you don't have your best stuff, you can kind of get creative and get it somewhat close in links golf, which I thought was really interesting. And he played bad those first few holes. He's very, very much in this. I don't know if I trust him right now. Just he's been kind of all over the place this year. Like, it hasn't been very linear. It hasn't been very steady. But if you start looking at last 24 winners have been within 5 of the lead after the first round, according to, I think Justin Ray had that stat. There's a lot of guys in there I don't trust, like Matt Wallace and Dan. There's a handful of guys. So Brooks is, I don't know, man. Like, he's very much in this.
He is. And Greg, I think, for all of the conversation, and rightfully so, because of his success at the US Open and the PGA Championship, those are kind of the majors that you immediately think about with Brooks Koepka. However, he's got a T10, a T6, a T4, another T6 at the Open. This is a style of golf that does seem to resonate with him.
Well, he likes it to be really hard, and it was today. And, there was something interesting. He makes 2 bogeys in his first 3 holes and hit some very errant, kind of wild iron shots early on in his round. And it's like he flipped a switch and just said, no, like I'm not letting this get away right now. And he immediately just turns on the afterburners and goes and makes 4 birdies in a row, hitting great iron shots. And I think that was really impressive. There were some moments where, like to Kyle's point, where it's been inconsistent. I don't know if I trust it. I definitely saw that. There was more errancy than you saw at Brooks at like Bethpage in 2019 or some of those other U.S. Open performances. It's like, I could see that maybe he's struggling. But the thing that's really encouraging, or should be really encouraging if you're a Brooks Koepka fan or Brooks Koepka backer this week, is he's very clearly engaged. And that's not a given with Brooks Koepka. But he likes this style. He likes the difficulty of it. He likes the challenge. And he's put himself in position where I believe the confidence that he has in himself can kind of shine through and maybe override any issues that he has going on in his swing right now.
Well, let's stick with that position then. The 1 unders. That's where Scottie Scheffler resides. And Scottie was flushing it all day. KP was making nothing. He will end up leading this field in strokes gained, ball striking, and lose a little bit on and around the greens. He did birdie 2 of his final 3 holes, even though he did bogey 17, but a birdie on 18 gets him in at that 1 under score. That's kind of, it was much different than what Rory did, obviously, but this could have been 5 under. Scottie was just flushing it all over the place.
Well, okay, so I got a couple things here. One, I want to throw up I don't know if it's a flare or a yellow flag or a yellow light or something. I'm throwing something up in the air. There's some guys on this board that kind of putted their faces off today, right? If you look at Lowry, if you look at, even Brooks, JT a little bit, like there's just some stuff that you're like, JT, I know you guys probably already talked about him. He leads last week. He finished T62 at the Scottish Open. Okay. Do I trust that? I don't know. Lowry, we saw this at the PGA, right? You're like, well, he's putting out of his mind, but does that mean he's going to win? I think Scottie, I saw today 2 things. One, I saw somebody that's going to shoot 65 at some point this week. and I saw somebody that I thought he managed the golf course so well. Like he was hitting these great little, like he hit some really creative, good shots off the tee. I can't remember. He held one up in I think he was like 6, maybe. He was hitting these kind of held up shots, like playing it off the wind, and it was just so impressive. Like he was so good. And then obviously the iron play is just a joke. Like it's so good. He made 3 putts longer than 5 feet, which is crazy. I would be very, very concerned if I'm ahead of Scottie Scheffler on the leaderboard on Thursday night.
Greg, I thought his distance control, right? He had so many of those shots where it lands on the front of the green, it releases back, and it stops 11 feet right of the pin or left of the pin or something like that. The ability to judge where it is going to land, how it will release, and how far you need it. It seemed like he had that figured out already.
Well, it looked like Scottie looks every time he tees it up, right? I mean, this was just Scottie. It wasn't like, well, he had a spectacular putting day, to Kyle's point. It wasn't abnormally. He wasn't piecing anything together. This was just a near flawless ball striking round. I think he hit a couple of bad shots. He hit a bad shot at 17. And he hit one other bad iron shot. I can't think of what hole it was. But anyway, he hit 2 bad shots all day. Everything else, I mean, maybe once he gets a bad lie in the rough and it comes out hot and goes through the green, or, he can't reach the green at number 1, which was giving people fits all day. But everything else looked just like Scottie. He's got 10 to 20 feet on every hole. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And it is very concerning if you're not only ahead of him on the leaderboard, but behind him or tied with him. It's concerning for everybody on this leaderboard.
For sure.
This isn't going away. Yeah.
He hit, Greg, he hit 13 of 18 greens in regulation, but I don't even know if that tells the full story. I just had this. The Open they have some interesting stats on their website. He was tied for first in birdie looks inside of 10 feet. He had 5. Bob McIntyre also had 5. I felt like Bob McIntyre missed all 5. I don't think that's true, but it felt like it. Scottie led in birdie chances inside 20 feet. He had 9. And he was 3rd in birdie chances inside 30 feet. He had 11 looks inside of 30 feet for birdie. So he was just, I think that tells, even more so than the greens in regulation, maybe even more so than the strokes gained on approach, that tells the story of Scottie's round. And it gets at Rick's point of like the distance control was, I mean, I don't know, man. He looked awesome. Like he looked in total control in a way that I don't think he ever looked in that much control at Pinehurst.
No.
Yeah. But did like the shot he hit at 16 from 300 yards?
That's a joke.
It's like, okay, it doesn't matter if it's 50 yards, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300 yards.
Did you see what Spieth did?
Dead flag high. Spieth was 300 yards too.
Well, Spieth goes, I mean, I'm like 290 out and I hit it to 15 feet and he's inside me.
Yeah.
He's pissed.
All right, well, I was going to go to Xander next, but let's go to Spieth, KP. This was out in 37. He birdies 13 to get to even par, and then a little bit of ups and downs coming in. Bogey on 15, that eagle that he rolls in on 16, and a bogey on 17. It's an even par round. He's in T18. You're the Spieth whisperer. What are you hearing?
It's better than I thought, honestly. I mean, he hit a shot on, was it 2 or 3, where he chunked it. I mean, he hit it like it was 2. He goes, it was inappropriate for television and this podcast, but he said, that's freaking 100 yards. I hit it 100 yards, which was incredible. I don't know. I mean, he's a little like Koepka in that, I mean, he made all these birdies and bogeys, and he ends at even par. You're just like, I don't think I can trust like linearly putting 4 rounds together. You know, like it would be fun. I'm terrified of it. Like he shoots 80 tomorrow. I don't know. But I mean, look, like I think he's so good when he's talked about this. He gets into link style golf, and he's just it takes him out of all of his other mental nonsense. He's just trying to be creative and hit shots. And I think you saw a lot of that, especially with the wedges. I thought his wedges were very, very good on Thursday. He was really impressive and creative and hit some just like fun little, checking high, low, different shots that resulted in a bunch of birdies. So, I mean, I'll wake up at 3 a.m. to watch it. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be fun.
I think I can transition us to someone who is a bit more consistent and a bit more trustworthy, Greg. That being one Xander Schauffele, who is our reigning PGA champion. He did it in very Xander fashion. He makes 3 birdies before he puts a bogey on the card, and just one of them, that was at the par 3 14th. And this is kind of the storyline, right? He's going to pick up maybe 4 shots or 3 shots every single day to the field, and he's probably going to be in the mix for the rest of it.
He looked very good. I was very impressed with Xander today. It's as complete as it gets.
Yeah.
There are a couple of moments where this is the difference between Xander and the other greats. There's, he needs to get up and down for par and hole a 15-footer. I feel like he's going to make it, and he does. He gets on 11, like the hardest hole ever, and makes birdie, rolls in a 30-footer. And they had this great shot of him reading that putt, and there was such an intensity. Like he was locked in and ready. And his caddy was saying that, he's been a little worried about his swing coming in and kind of fighting it, but felt really good about it on Tuesday. And what Xander can do is come up with something, like make a little change, make a little adjustment, and just go with it and trust it and compete. I saw him at the US Open in 2020 at Winged Foot, looking like hitting it all over the place on the range, and then just gets out and can go play. He's a gamer. He's a complete gamer, which you wouldn't have said before the PGA Championship, but he really is. And this is why he consistently puts himself in the mix. And this week isn't going to be any different.
Yeah, he seems to have a very good feel and very good kind of control and understanding of his body and his swing, and he can kind of make some of those adjustments when needed. I mean, it's usually in great shape, but if needed, he can find something. Let's get to the 2 guys at the top of the board. They are separating themselves a little bit, and Shane Lowry was the first to get in at 5 under par. And KP, I'll throw this back to you here, because you're right. Shane Lowry made every putt you could possibly imagine. A lot of them were for great par saves that kept the momentum going. It was bogey free for Shane, and he's trying to relive some of that 2019 magic.
Nobody else was bogey free, right? He was the only one.
There were
Rosie.
Yeah, Rosie was.
Oh, okay. I think Xander had 1.
Dan Brown too.
Oh. I was trying to think of a Da Vinci Code joke, but nothing came to mind.
It would have been over my head.
Yeah, Lowry. I mean, again, like you watched the Zurich. I was thinking about this. You watched the Zurich Classic back in whatever that was, May, and you don't think that he's the one that's going to beat his partner by 13. Maybe the other way around, or by 12, or whatever he beat him by. But he got Rory by 12 today, which is nuts. It's not like he didn't hit the ball well either. It's not like he just made everything he looked at and was scrambling around. He hit it pretty good. He was, I think, 5th in ball striking or something like that.
11th on approach, 60th off the tee.
Yeah. So like, I think there going to be a little regression? Probably. But 1, he still hit it good. And 2, he's somebody that you get into Sunday with guys like Koepka and now even a Lowry, and you're like, well, I mean, you're not even really playing golf anymore. It's a major Sunday, which is like a different thing. It's a different sport. So, if he can get it to Sunday, then absolutely he can win this golf tournament. So I'm intrigued by it. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool if Shane Lowry was a 2-time major winner.
The round that he put together, 8.5-ish strokes gained to the field, Greg, that is going to be the best round of his major championship career. It will usurp round 3 of the 2019 Open, which obviously he would go on to win. So we are in high society for Shane right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think about that 2019 Open at Royal Port Rush with the bad weather, very reminiscent of what we saw today. A lot of comparisons in my mind between golf in Florida and golf here in the Open Championship as well. And Shane Lowry has played well, has a great record at the Honda Classic, which is another nice correlation. He understands how to play this style of golf. He understands how to handle wind and danger, which is that's why the combination, in my opinion, is so close. So it does have this kind of feel that it's magical. This route was magical, like nothing could go wrong, and that would lead you to believe there's regression coming. But to Kyle's point, he really did hit the ball well, and if one of the days you gain 4 strokes putt in, that could be enough to keep yourself in the mix. Because I do think he has, not only today did he hit the ball well, he's been hitting the ball well all year. And that kind of acumen is a really nice thing to be able to lean on. So while he had a great putting day, he's one of those guys that's a legitimate contender going forward, even without that kind of putting performance.
It looked like Lowry was going to be our overnight leader until Dan Brown posted a 6 under 65, second to last group of the day. So this just happened a few moments ago. Who is Dan Brown? Well, not, as we've been joking, the 60-year-old author of the Da Vinci Code. No. He is the 29-year-old Englishman who's currently ranked outside 250th in the world, who made the cut at the Scottish Open last week, but had rattled off a handful of miscuts prior to that. It was splendid. It was, dare I say, KP, sublime. The other bogey-free round, and he spread them out. 3, 5, 10, 11, 16, 18. Sure, Dan Brown, have at it.
He almost made one on 17 too. He had a putt at it. It was pretty close. It was a long putt, but yeah, here's a question that one of my friends posed to me today. He said, do you think it's more likely that he wins or that he misses the cut?
Well, he's not going to do either.
Right. That's why I asked.
So you have to decide, Greg, which is more likely. I guess he wins.
What's the cut at? 3 over?
Probably it's going to be like 5 or 6.
Going to end up it's at 3 now, I think. So you're right, probably 5 or 6.
And he's going to get the better end of it.
He's going to get the better end of it. That's right. So he's not missing the cut. Winning is more likely.
He would have to shoot like an 83 or something tomorrow to miss.
It's a Todd Hamilton situation.
He is definitely more likely to win than miss the cut.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, do I?
That's crazy.
Well, neither of them are going to happen, but just to be clear, he is technically more likely to win.
I agree. I also I don't know. Maybe I don't actually want this, but I think I would be cool if there was like a winner like this. Like if somebody came from he's like not a good pro golfer. No offense to any Dan Brown or friends or family, but he's just like, I mean, like he's a pro golfer, but he's not a good one.
It is crazy. Like I know a lot. I know a lot of professional golf. I know nothing about Dan Brown. I don't even know if I've ever even, and maybe because his name is Daniel Brown, it's very generic, but like I don't even remember ever seeing this name.
I mean, golf's insane though. And like the Open produces this where I mean, he beats Bryson by 10. He beats Rory by 13. Like these guys beat the whole world at the US Open, and Dan Brown comes out and beats him by 23 combined in the first round. And you're like, I mean, like Rick always says, like these guys, I hope they're all in therapy because that's completely insane.
It's insane.
And Opens produce that, right? Which I think is like freaking awesome. Like I think it's so cool that Justin Rose goes and qualifies and can be near the lead in the Open Championship. I think that it's awesome that Dan Brown, I don't even know how he got in. I presume he qualified.
I believe he did.
To get in. I mean, it's just it's a really, really cool tournament. And I don't know. He's not gonna win, but it'd be kind of sick if he did.
He missed like 6 cuts in a row before finishing T61 at the Scottish Open last week.
That's his best finish in like 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Now he leads the Open Championship and striped it today. Like this is the crazy thing too. If you just look at a stats model, I mean, he had a great day on the greens too, no doubt about it. But he only missed 1 fairway. Right. This was a ball striking clinic. He hit 13 greens. That was second in the field. Only Justin Rose hit 14. So I mean, he just played great all around, but because it's Dan Brown, you know, I don't have the same feeling about Shane Lowry, where you had a great putting day, but we know you can hit the ball where you're looking. With Dan Brown, it has, you haven't exactly proved it to us yet. Maybe we're missing something, but I don't think Rick Gehman's missing anything.
Who finishes higher on the leaderboard, or who finishes closer to winning? Dan Brown or Rory?
Dan Brown.
Dan Brown, yeah. I mean, there's a very good chance Rory does not play the weekend. Like a very good chance of that.
What's he got to shoot tomorrow? Like 70? I bet he shoots. I bet he makes it on the number.
Rory's at 7, so you're saying 6 over gets in?
I don't think he may.
The problem for you is if he does get in, Dan Brown's gonna get chased down in a hurry.
Oh yes. If Rory plays from dead last on the weekend and Dan Brown is like near that, I'm screwed on that.
Yeah,
so
yeah. You want to bet something? You want to put something on it?
Yeah, you want to for who finishes better?
Yeah, I'll take Rory. You get Dan Brown.
Okay, what do you want to do?
I don't know. What should we do, Craig?
Oh, that sounds like a what is it? A wine bet? That sounds like a wine bet to me.
Wine bet. I love it.
You have Rory. I have Dan Brown. Better finish, and I'm actually nervous about it, which is so sick.
And you're up. You get Rory, or you get Dan Brown 13 strokes and possible. What if they both miss the cut?
Oh God! If they both miss the cut, I'll jeez. Okay,
I love it.
That's good. That'll
be fun.
Dan Brown did get in through final qualifying. He got in through the West Lancashire. Someone's going to tell me that's pronounced like
for sure
something completely different.
Lancashire,
you idiot! Or like,
hey, before we get to that happened with Lancaster, by the way, for the women's.
Oh yeah.
I butchered it, but before we get to odds, can we try and guess? I purposely didn't look because I wanted to try and guess.
Yes, before we get to that, there is one guy who played in the afternoon that shot an 8 over 79, in which we have to talk about, and his name is Tiger Woods. And this was just another KP round where he just doesn't have it, right? And then things start going sideways, and the ability to stop things from going bad is not out there. He makes a big number on 11 after standing on the tee there. He hits one onto the train tracks, and it just was just not good.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Like, what do people expect? You don't play golf, and you can't just roll up to I mean, this is like championship golf. It's not. No offense, it's not the 3M Open. And even if it was, like, it's still a level of golf that you can't just not play, right? And so I think we talked about this on Tuesday. Like, I don't think Tiger should retire, but I also think we have to stop doing this thing. He has to stop doing the thing where it's like, oh, I'm here to win. And it's like, I get that you've always said that, but we have to like Tiger's not an idiot. Like he knows he can't win. So like, let's change expectations for everybody. And I think the whole thing would be much less of a charade. It's a farce right now. Like Tiger's like, oh, I can win. People are like, oh, could he do it? And it's like, what are we talking about? Like, this is absurd. Like, this is not within the realm of possibility. And so I think for Tiger to roll up and say, hey, I love majors and I want to compete, like, I'm way on board with that. I think that's awesome. But to say like, oh, I'm here to win, the whole thing it just feels like kind of a sideshow right now.
From a statistical standpoint, Greg, the struggles continue on the putting surface, which is, the thing that we have seen him summon so much magic with over the last couple of decades. And then that lack of probably practice and the lack of distance control, it really starts to pile up gains in those two places that make you look silly: approach play and putting. It makes it look worse than it actually is, probably too.
Yeah, they're two most important things week to week, right? I know season long putting isn't the most important thing, but you look at any given week and you need to putt well and you need to give yourself birdie opportunities. So it really all starts to me with the lack of ability to hit iron shots close. I mean, he's hitting the ball in the fairway more than we've ever really seen. He's playing from the fairway a lot. And even without dominating distance, he could compete based on where he is off the tee. And he's just not able to strike the ball the way that he used to. And that's when you lose your biggest asset, the thing that won you 82 tournaments and 15 majors. It's a really hard thing to overcome. So there's just simply no momentum. I wouldn't look at the scores and say, well, he's done because he shot 78, because he shot 80s in majors recently. Look, something has to get fixed. And when it does, those scores will come down dramatically. But it's not fixed now. And can he go through what he has to go through to solve that problem in these extremely high level golf courses, championship golf courses? They're so punishing, which is why you see the scores the way you see the scores, because it could be a minor miss that's just completely rejected.
Yeah. He will put a bow on it with this. Here's what Xander had to say about it. Josh, there you go. And it says, the question is essentially, are you sorry to see or tough to see him struggle, was the question. It goes on to say there was a couple majors in a row where he's kind of out of it. And Xander said, quote, he's only playing major championships. He's making it as hard on himself as possible. I know he's hard on himself too. It's just hard. He would go on to say that, he thinks if he had more prep, he could compete a little bit better. But if the body isn't allowing you to do that, it's just basically going to be an uphill battle. So echoing his competitors now and peers, echoing some of the stuff that I think others have said about him.
You're talking about a guy that used to spend from 5 a.m. until 8 o'clock at night honing this craft, and Tiger Woods. That was his secret, if you will. I'm going to outwork everybody, but I'm going to be on the range before the sun's up so I can be loose, so I can hit a real shot as soon as I can see. Right? That's the kind of attitude Tiger had. You can't get anywhere close to that. Xander also knows how much time he's putting in to getting prepared for major championships. And, what would it be like if I didn't have that time? They wouldn't put in all that work if they didn't need it. But this is high level golf. It demands a lot of practice. Tiger can't do that.
Vegas. All right, KP, you want to guess the odds here?
Yes, I do. I think Scottie's the favorite.
I'm also in agreement that Scottie's the favorite. I bet you it is 5-1, something like that.
So about the same as the start of the tournament. I think that's right.
Okay.
I think Xander is next at like 7-6.
Xander's in at 2 under.
Yep.
And Scottie's in at 1. Lowry's in at 5.
I think Lowry's 3rd and JT's 4. and then Brooks would be 5.
Does that sound right, Greg?
And then Dan Brown's 28th.
If I was going to make one adjustment, I think Lowry might be a little higher.
Okay. Higher than Xander?
Yeah. I think Lowry would be second right now.
Yeah.
He's the real leader.
You can talk. You can. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can talk me into that. I could be talked into that for sure.
All right, Josh, let's see it.
The suspense.
Dramatic.
Oh, okay.
Great call.
Okay.
Great
Yeah,
call, Greg.
Pretty good. Yeah. Good job, guys.
He's 5 under, Open champion.
Scheffler plus 360, the favorite. Shane Lowry 5-1. Right behind is Xander at 5.5. And then there's a little bit of a gap. Justin Thomas and Brooks Koepka 14 and 16. And then another gap to Alex Noren at 30. Matt Fitzpatrick, Colin Morikawa, Russell Henley, and there he is, Dan Brown, 35-1.
That seems way too short, right? He should
I'm
be
surprised.
like
I'm
50.
surprised. I think that I do not think that's reflective of his true odds. I think that is reflective of odds makers saying, if you really want to bet him at 50, you'll bet him at 30.
Yeah.
And we don't have to risk as much. I do not think that is reflective.
I think Scottie's going to win. I think Brooks is interesting, but I don't trust him really. I think that I don't know. I don't know if I like any of these. Xander, I think, is really interesting also. He's played very well at Opens.
I'm not ready to give up on Morikawa at 30 yet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Made a stupid mistake at 8. Just stupid.
He made double or triple there?
He made double, but he wasn't even in the bunker the first time. He hit a 111-yard shot, 90 yards, got lucky, got a great lie, and then dumped it into the bunker.
It was not. I mean, I actually am curious why he didn't putt that.
It was maybe the worst.
The first one.
Yeah. I don't know. Because he probably thought there's no way I can duff this.
Yeah, I've thought that.
Yeah. Usually he's right about it.
Yeah.
Does this look right to you, Greg? Where's the? I mean, I think I'm not. I also probably believe that Scottie's going to win this. That he was awesome, but it's an Open. Things are going to get weird. There were a lot of situations where shots that are very good are getting repelled in a very ugly, like I remember thinking all morning long, oh my God, that wasn't that bad of a shot.
No, it's and the wind just makes it brutal. The birdies are so hard to come by. So I do think this is, like, in a strange way, wide open. But from a betting perspective, if it's not Scottie, who hopefully you just got in on at the beginning of the week, if it's not Scottie, I think you're free to kind of go down the board. Like, I don't necessarily love any of these, but I'm not afraid of a Tony Finau at even par, who's not listed here.
He's like 35 or 40.
I wouldn't be afraid of Sepp Straka, who's at 1 under.
40-1.
I wouldn't be afraid of an Adam Scott, who's at 1 under.
30 to
great last week. So if it's not Scottie, for me, I'm probably looking down at those guys: Adam Scott, Sepp Straka, Tony Finau.
Okay, closest without going over, and in this scenario, over is still the same, like a longer number. Rory McIlroy's odds to win.
120.
I was gonna say 150.
170.
Okay.
Kyle wins this round. The same odds as Bryson, Tommy Fleetwood, Victor Hovland.
I mean, any of those guys, it's all timers. Absolutely. If Bryson or Rory wins this tournament,
oh my gosh,
will be insane.
Or Hovland, or who was the other? Fleetwood. Fleetwood was like 4 over or 5 over.
6? Fleetwood
6?
finished at 6? Yeah, I think I saw him at 6.
Phil 700 to 1. He's not
Where
a
did he
bad.
shoot.
He was like 3 or 4 over when I saw
How
him.
good was that clip? Yeah, it's not totally true.
This is the most endearing thing Phil's done in a long time. Okay, we will be back. Oh, we're actually going to be back a lot. We are going to be back live on the network, CBS Sports Network at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Friday for a little round recap / cut sweat. There will still be some round happening. Are we then doing another pod, Josh, or is that the pod? Do we know? I think there's another.
We were doing another one.
Wow. Look at us. So we will also do a full recap pod afterwards. And then, of course, Saturday, Sunday, post round as usual. The intermittent HQ hits. So you just probably just turn on CBS Sports HQ, leave it on, put it on your iPad.
For sure.
Anything else, gents?
No, great day. I'm
Fired up for tomorrow.
feeling good. Get back to bed early, and I might get up even earlier tomorrow.
I thought you were playing 18. I was going to tell you to hit it well.
Well, I haven't told my wife that yet, so who knows how that's going to go.
I have a feeling I know how it's going to go.
Yeah, you probably do.
Well, then it's bedtime.
Well, then good night, Kyle. Don't let the bed bugs bite. All right. We will see y'all tomorrow. Big thanks to producer Josh, who does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg DuCharme at The Real GFD. Kyle Porter at Kyle Porter CBS. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.